Hello, everyone, and welcome to another series of Vista Talks Tech. We're excited to come at you and bring some information about Juniper and Mist and their product portfolio and really what they can do to, well, I'll let Justin get that in a little bit, but I just want to give you a short intro, tell you a little bit about the agenda for today, how things are going to work, and then also a quick overview on Vista IT. I know there's a lot of people on here that have worked with us in the past, some people that haven't had the opportunity yet. So we're just going to go through a few things here, but first off with logistics, right? We are going to be taking Q&A, so there's a little question and answers box underneath the Zoom link, so feel free to put something in there. We'll go through those questions at the end with Justin, so feel free to put anything in there. No question is too ridiculous. And also for the survey, we are sending that afterwards, so anyone that completes that survey, they're going to be in a drawing for a chance to win a $300 Amazon gift card, which is fantastic because you don't have to tell your spouse what you're doing with that money because it's just extra, right? And also we are recording this, so just anything that's said can be used against us in a court of law at a later date. But we're also going to send this out to all the participants and putting it on social media so you can view it at a later date. But just a little quick overview on who Great Lakes or who Vista Computer is. We started back in the early 80s as Great Lakes Computer, and have kind of merged into what you're seeing today with Vista IT Group, right? Because we sell more things than computers we sell outside the Great Lakes region. But this is our current base of operations here in Grand Rapids. We just brought on a second warehouse. You can see down there, we do stock a lot of product, which makes us very unique in the marketplace, especially now when lead times are getting ridiculous. So that's one of our benefits that we've always brought to market, is just having good technical knowledge and also being able to cut lead times and cut costs for customers so they can get stuff quick. And, if you're local, you can deliver it in our cool A-team, B-team looking van. But, like really any organization, what makes us special is the people that work here, right? You see a lot of strongly tenured individuals from sales to technical to pre-sales that have been working with us for years. And it really, shines when we're able to help you guys solve a problem. And also you see Jeff down there, who's the president of the company. He's the only one that got the color down there with the green lightsaber, so it's fun. Quick overview of some of the, I guess, our core competencies, what we do, right? We focus a lot on the data center. We're really good at infrastructure. That's been something that's been our bread and butter for, again, a number of years, is just saving money to customers on commodity-based hardware. We really look for value plays for people instead of just, shoving the most expensive thing at you. But we also do software and license administration. We have a dedicated team that can help handle, co-term everything, make it super easy for you because no one likes to manage that stuff. So we can do it on your behalf with maintenance support as well. We also do leasing, short-term rentals. We do a lot of that in-house. From a supply chain standpoint, we do everything from life cycle management. We don't just do brand new equipment. We also help people keep the stuff that they're running going longer. So part of our business is, an ITAD solution, and also we do, refurbished and end-of-life equipment from a lot of the major manufacturers as well. And then again, with our staging logistics, what's cool is we have everything here for the majority, so we're able to act a lot quicker than a lot of places. And then our technology services, we have a managed service team. And what's nice about that is that we do things a la carte. So what that means to a lot of customers is we do the things that you either don't have time to or don't want to do. And so we can help kind of augment some of those things for you. We do professional services from anything to, again, laptops up to, your high-end storage solutions, as well as the pre-sales design. And configuration and integration is great because we, a server that comes from us doesn't come in a bunch of different boxes. We put it together, we update the firmware, we get it ready to go for you. So when you get it there, you're not spending half your day throwing away boxes. You're just taking the server or switch and put it in there. Some of the unique relationships that we bring to market, right? One of the things we do is with Cisco Access, specially designed product suite that we can get to customers that is fully SmartNet eligible, but you can save up to 85% off list, and that goes their server portfolio, switches, but we're here to talk about Juniper, which is I think something you'll find to be a better cost savings option for you anyways, right? Dell EMC, we're a Dell outlet distributor. So anything from, again, on the server side of things, we have a lot of that in stock. at highly discounted rates. A lot of the stuff we have actually is a 5-year warranty versus 3. So even though it says certified refurbished, you're getting a better warranty on it as well. From an HPE standpoint, we're an authorized gold reseller through them, so we can do everything from 3-Pires, Primera, Nimbles, but we also work with them on spare parts and refurbished equipment too. So we can really manage the whole life cycle of your HP portfolio for you as well. But now I'm going to turn it over to Justin here so that we can get into kind of the meat and potatoes of what we want to talk to you about. But I really want to tell you the reason we wanted to bring Juniper and Mist to you guys today is because we really see the value to bring to the marketplace. They have a very, they focus on value. Their total cost of ownership is, in ease of use, is a lot better than some of the major players you see in the marketplace right now that start with a CNN and an ISCO. From what we've seen, they've been taking a lot of market share and have a really cool story to tell. And so we asked Justin and the team to put together this so we could get it out to you guys and share some of the things that we've learned so that we can help you there. So without any further ado, Justin, the floor is yours, and I'll let you have at it.
So as Nate said, right, my name is Justin Barizza. I am a senior sales engineer with Juniper Networks, specifically focused in our channel org. And what I wanted to talk about briefly, and then we'll actually get into a demo and show you, because I think it's just much more powerful rather than going through slides, is what we call our AI-driven enterprise, right? And it's a solution set, right, targeted obviously at the enterprise, but the goal of it, and when we designed this, partially because of the Mist acquisition we made a few years ago, was to how do we take networking to the next level, right? And what we decided at Juniper was, in order to do that, right, we really had to focus on the user experience, right? Independent of what type of clients connected to the network, right? We can no longer just say, the client's connected, the signal on the wireless is good, they must be having a great experience. And that was really our end goal, right? Is how do we determine if the user really is having a good experience? And the second piece of it was, how do we make day-to-day operation of the network for, IT admins, operators, et cetera, easier, right? How do we take more off their plate? So those are really the two pillars of the AI-driven enterprise, and what I'll show you after I go through a couple slides here on how we're trying to address that and make things easier. It is a wireless, right? There's different components of it, right? So there's wireless, there's switching, there's gateways. All of that falls under the AI-driven enterprise umbrella. And the real magic of it is really this concept we call Marvis. So Marvis is our virtual network assistant, is a play on words from the Iron Man movies, Jarvis, right? Mist equals Marvis. And it's evolved. It's been around for a little over 6 years now. But the end goal is on the right here. And what that says is self-driving framework, right? Or self-driving network. And I'll show you all of this, and it's pretty compelling. But the goal of what we're trying to do with Marvis, right? I mentioned it's about operational efficiency for network admins and IT staff. If we can make it easier to not only recognize a problem, identify a problem in the network, but also suggest actions that would fix that problem, right? It eliminates time to resolution significantly. And quite honestly, it takes a lot off the plate of the operator from trying to figure out what the issue is to begin with, right? So Marvis is a virtual network assistant. I'll show you when we get in there. It is based on natural language, right? So if you're familiar with any of these, I know banking sites do it, right? Many hotel sites and hospitality sites where you can have a chat bot, right? Essentially, I want to do this, help me do this. We have built that into our network management product, right? And that's Marvis. So not only is he ingesting all this data and correlating and running through AI engines, right? It has a fully built NLU processing engine, same things that Google and Alexa and all those guys use. So it's pretty powerful, right? The other big aspect of when we wanted to build this AI-driven enterprise built with a virtual network assistant, right, is in order to be able to do that and provide relevant data and output, right, we needed to have good data coming in, right? And if you've ever heard a presentation by the founder of Mist, Bob Friday, He has the analogy of, if I want to make good wine, I have to have good grapes. And it's the same concept in what we're trying to do. If we want to have relevant and actionable data and output to the operator, the IT operator, we have to be ingesting good data from the network devices, right? So one of the big, the glaring examples there is every one of our access points has a third radio that is doing nothing but sniffing metadata traffic from every client. Right. So on every client connected to any one of our access points, we are collecting 150 data points per client per minute. Right. So if you let that sink in a little bit, and then we're funneling that into our microservices backend cloud, where we're running AI and machine learning and all that type, deep learning type stuff, we're able to really present to the IT operator some pretty incredible network data, right, and troubleshooting and advice. So I mentioned the AI-driven enterprise is built around three things. AI-driven WAN, right? So that's our gateway. So you can do things such as latency, jitter, QoS, and what we're trying to do is really determine if a user or an application is having an issue, where in the network is it, right? Is it in the WAN? Is it in the wired infrastructure, or is it in the wireless? So you'll notice as I scroll through here, right, we do the WAN, we do the wireless LAN, and then lastly, we do it on our wired LAN with the EX switches. I'm going to breeze over this because I'll go through this in the demo in much more depth, but just so you guys get the gist of this, right? It's really based around three concepts. And the tagline that you'll hear if you've seen Juniper on social media or anywhere is, we're trying to focus on the user experience from client to cloud. And that would make sense if you think about wireless, wired, and WAN. Right. So what does this mean to our IT operators that deploy the AI-driven enterprise? Really, it's about, I mentioned, right? It's about proactively notifying if there's issues, right? And not waiting for a user to call in or open up a support ticket and then having to somehow troubleshoot or diagnose the issue after the fact, essentially, right? We can also, because we're ingesting so much data into the backend cloud, right? We can also determine if it's something that, for example, right, if I have a bunch of APs offline at a site, it may not be the network. It could be something, far above and beyond and outside the scope of a traditional network operations team, right? But we can easily report on something like that. And then the last piece, last example, because we're ingesting all that client data, right? We have insight into things that typically wouldn't fall in a network management platform, right? Like Juniper doesn't sell Radius servers. Juniper doesn't sell DHCP servers. But because we're sniffing that traffic and we're understanding clients' state pre-connection, post-connection, et cetera, right? We have insight into, the client can't connect to the wireless because it's not getting a response from the Radius server. It's not a network issue per se, right? It is, but it's not. Maybe you should check the Radius server, right? Maybe the team was doing upgrades when they shouldn't have been. But we're giving insight into a lot more and above and beyond just beyond the wireless, the wired, and the WAN, or the traditional Juniper infrastructure, right? The other concept that we introduce with this AI and Marvis and things like that is it's really changing the paradigm on how an IT operator interacts if something does happen, right? Heaven forbid a switch fails or an access point fails, right? Because we have all this backend intelligence specific to that customer's organization, right? We can do things like proactively RMA. Like, we've noticed your AP has failed. We're sending you one, Mr. Customer, right? You don't have to call in. We already have it on the way, right? Every time a customer does open a support ticket, right? There's no phone numbers here. It's all done via chat or email. We run it through Marvis, right? So we run all of our support tickets through our AI engine. And the goal there is to eventually, the more and more we train it and the more data we send into Marvis, right? The more it's going to be able to quote, fix without having to open a support ticket, right? Because it can suggest things such as whatever may have happened. My last slide, and then I'll get into the demo. I like to show this because I think this shows and proves that, Marvis is working. It's getting better significantly as we go on. if you look from left to right over this 1 year span, the top right data will show that we've grown, right? Marvis has been deployed significantly more in the last year than the year prior to that, right? The device count that Marvis and Mist is managing has gone up 280%, but the ticket to device ratio is going down. I don't know what that was. So the proof is in the pudding here that we are essentially training Marvis to become better at recognizing and suggesting fixes prior to the customer having to open up a support case like they would in a legacy support model. So I'm going to jump into the demo. So Mist at its core, it's a management platform. I don't like to call it that because I truly think it goes above and beyond that, right? It's more of an operations platform, right? But it can do all the typical things you would think of in a network management platform: ZTP, deploy devices, push out policies, and all that fun stuff. But the real value in Mist is going above and beyond that, right? Is how do I know if my network is experiencing issues? And I know this is probably a little small to see, so I will zoom in a little bit here, right? But remember I mentioned we're collecting all that data for every client. So we're able to report on issues, right? Is it time to connect, right? Are they having roaming issues? Is it a throughput issue? Is it a capacity issue? Maybe we have non-Wi-Fi interference, right? Or maybe we have Wi-Fi interference. Uptime, are the APs going down? Is the switch down, right? So we're able to report on all this stuff. And then really the goal here is to give a 3-second view of, okay, if everything's green, I'm good. But if something is red, there's an issue. In this case, it's green, but I see that association is failing 94% of the time, right? So now I want to be able to dive into this. I want to go deeper and see exactly what is causing my issues with my clients associating to my network. So you'll notice that we can break it down and we could say that, 94% of the time it was because of association, was the time to connect failure, right? It was 108 actual attempts, right? Meaning 108 times my clients have tried to connect to my network, but they failed, and it was due to association, right? So a couple times was authorization, a couple times was DHCP. What else we can do is we can look at specifics of, is there a certain time when it was happening the most, right? Now, this is a demo environment. So in a real world, it would not be hopefully it would not be split out over these days like this, right? It would be honed in on a certain time, a certain point of the day, or whatever it may be, right? The other thing you could say is, well, were there certain variables that maybe were associating to this issue, right? Is it a certain operating system? Is it a certain SSID? Maybe it's a specific device type that was just having issues, right? Association, or specific access point, or it was, very heavy on the 5 gig and not on 2.4, right? So we're giving you this data to look and say, okay, the anomaly of time to connect failing, and the value of that by default was 2 seconds. So if my device didn't connect in 2 seconds, it was a failure, right? Most of the time it happened on these specific access points. Lastly, you could say, okay, were there certain clients that were experiencing it more than not? In this case, you could see there's a couple of them that were having issues a majority of the time, right? And it impacted, the top 3 clients here was most of that 108 attempts, if you just do the math and add the percentages. But we want to be able to go deeper than this, right? And we should be able to go deeper because we have the data from the clients, right? So in this case, I'm going to say, okay, well, why is Denali failing, right? Specifically, 85% of the time it was due to slow association, right? And 40% of the times the successful connects were failing due to authorization. We should be able to go deeper to that, and we can because we have this concept called client insights, right? So this is specific to Denali. Everything good, bad, right? Typical, in this case, wireless networking stuff, right? Latency, DHCP latency, post-connection RSSI, transmit receive bytes, roaming, right? If I'm roaming from one AP to another, what was I roaming? Why did I roam? What was the channel it was on? Did it fail? And then your typical, device details that you are able to find in pretty much any networking management platform today, right? But where we go above and beyond, right, and where Mist really differentiates is the ability to, if we know the client is having a bad issue, right? In this case, you can see this little timeline here. So everything good, neutral, and bad is logged. If we know it's having a bad issue, we're collecting the client data, right? Why shouldn't we be able to take a dynamic PCAP and present it for analysis, right? So I like to paint a picture here, right? In a typical wireless network admin world, if a client calls in that they're having issues, right? I would argue 90% of the time it's after the fact, right? So now what do you have to do? You have to send a tech out with some sort of laptop with a wireless scanner or something like that to try and recreate the issues, right? It's just, it's wasting time, right? When we can do that and essentially capture that issue when it happened, right? And then we can present it as a packet capture. And if they have Wireshark or whatever, we work with CloudShark where we can dynamically, the admin can go in here and get into the nitty gritty of exactly what was happening when that client was failing, right? And that's something that really differentiates our Mist AI-driven enterprise story or solution from some of our competitors out there. The other part of this is, I mentioned Marvis, right, in the conversational interface. So, you know, let's say I want to talk to him and I want to say, I don't know, list, let's see, we'll go up here. List client events yesterday, right? So I want to say on my network, every client event that failed, right? Now this can get overwhelming, right? You may want to, as you can see, I'm scrolling through here and there's going to be a ton of them, right? But I could say, list wired clients, right? I want to know all the things that are plugged into my switches, what port they're on and what switch it's on, right? I can also do things such as troubleshoot, right? Or let's say I want to look for a device, right? I know the device name, whether it's a Radius username, or just a brand, right? I want to look for all Apple devices on my network, right? Marvis has essentially scanned my entire wired wireless network and looked for any Apple device, and it's based on Mac in this case, right? So again, you could see that I've got some obviously some remote devices. I got a MacBook Pro, I got a Mac Mini. I can always do, you know, if I wanted to say, you know, we knew about Denali, right? Maybe Denali called in, right? And they said, you know, my device is having an issue. Here's my Radius username. And I want to see where exactly they're located, right? I can just go device search Denali. It's going to help. It's going to ask me for the device, right? And it's going to say, here it is. And then it's going to put me right back into, cancel that. It's going to put me right back into that screen that we saw, right? So rather than, if someone's calling in, rather than having to go through and see where exactly Denali is, it's a matter of typing two things, right? You can also blow it up right in here. And it in the next one I'll show you, right? You could essentially say troubleshoot site. And it's going to ask me, well, what site do you want to troubleshoot? So I'm going to pick live demo, right? That's my site. And it's going to say, right, on today, right, between yesterday and today, we found issues with association and capacity due to Wi-Fi interference, right? And I can then go in and say, is there a timeline? Was the scope of the impact, right? It was on both of, really on the 2.4 is where the issue was happening. On the 5 gig, it was fine. I could do via WAN, LAN, etc. So it's not, we're not showing nothing, or we're not showing anything in Marvis that you couldn't find in the rest of the platform. It's, again, I mentioned the whole goal here is trying to make it easy, right? Get time to resolution, or at least time to issue down pretty significantly, right? The other thing I can do is maybe Denali had an issue, but the person didn't call it in on the right time, right? Or they put a ticket in and it got lost in the queue. So I could say troubleshoot Denali July 15th. And it's going to take a little time, right? Because obviously it has to run through massive amounts of data. But what Marvis will present back is, July 14th through July 15th, did Denali have any issues, right? And that's almost a month ago, where without something like this, there's zero chance of trying to replicate what that user experienced a month ago. But because we have all that data, we know that on July 14th and 15th, right, Denali had a failure. When did it happen? Why did it happen? Right? Summary. I mean, historically, it would present this data. It's a demo environment, so I can't show it. But we have the ability to go in there and say exactly what happened on that day, right? From 7 to 7 on July 15th. What were the issues? Oh, by the way, look at, we had an issue and we still have the packet capture. So now we can go and really understand what happened. Right. The other thing you can use Marvis for is, if you have, like I could say list switches, right? Just an easy way to see my switches in the environment. Switches site live demo. It's going to spit out all my switches in my environment. Now you could say, the IT operator could say, maybe they're having, they got a ticket that they're having an issue in one wing or one room, right? And we know that room is all fed off of this EX4300. So I could say troubleshoot, be able to spell, switch, EX4300 dash 1. Right. And what Marvis will do is it will, again, ingest any issues. So no issues. So let's see if we can do yesterday. See if they had any issues. I did this demo 2 days ago and it did show issues. So there is no issues, but one thing that it typically would show, if I would have find the right date, was there was a latency issue, right? And it'll go and it'll say, okay, you had latency on the WAN uplink, right? And that doesn't mean it's connected to the WAN. It's basically saying that your uplink from this switch had latency. Is it the switch? Maybe. Is it the uplink device? Possibly. But at least the whole goal here is trying to give the IT team a place to start when it comes to troubleshooting network devices, which is really the ultimate goal of trying to make sure the user experience is successful. The other part of Marvis, I mentioned right in the first slide, it was kind of hard to see because there was writing over it, was being proactive, right? Are there things in the network that Marvis is noticing? And I'm going to zoom out a little bit because it sort of distorts this a little. Right? Are there things in the network that Marvis is noticing that could be an issue, right? Or aren't an issue yet? In this case, right, we noticed we have 3 from the switch. Well, on one switch, in this case, it's corporate switch, blah, 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 right? It's missing a VLAN. So these 2 ports are missing these 3 VLANs because they're configured on the access point that it's connected to, but they're not configured on the switch port, which means those VLANs aren't going to pass traffic, right? That's a common thing in deployments. Things get overlooked, right? Somebody forgets to add a VLAN. Well, we're going to tell the team before it becomes a problem. The other thing I will point out here, right? If any of you guys are, this is not a Juniper switch, right? This is GI1021, I believe is Cisco, right? Or could be Arista, but it's just using LLDP. We're not managing the switch, but because our access points are plugged into it, we're able to determine via LLDP some common issues that could occur, right? Another thing is bad cable. So port GE0010 on this Juniper switch has a bad cable. You may want to go replace it. And then another one would be negotiation incomplete, right? All of this stuff can be done, right? So you could do it as like a triage, a help desk, right? It's open, it's in progress, it's resolved, etc. We do it for APs. We do it for gateway. We do it for layer 1 as well, right? So bad cable, clients, application, security. So we're doing it across the board. I mentioned before, right? 802.1x failure. We had an issue with this Radius server 2 times today, right? So there may be something that we should probably go and check. It's truly about, right? It's truly about making things easier for the IT operations team is what it comes down to. And Marvis is our way of getting there, right? And you could ask him questions about, I don't know, WPA2, right? And it essentially will send you to all of our documents based on whether it's wireless security and how we're doing it and release notes and all that type of stuff, right? So it's not just about the network. It's really, anything Juniper Mist related. Marvis is the friend there. The last thing I will show, because I don't want to spend a ton of time, right? So I mentioned every one of our access points has a third radio to scan client traffic, and it's metadata. We're not taking payload, so there's no security concerns there. Every access point in the Juniper portfolio, minus a couple of the wall mount ones for dorm rooms and things like that, right, also have a 16 BLE antenna array built in. So Bluetooth, low energy. I think, in my opinion, that's going to be the route forward when it comes to location, right? All of our access points have those BLE arrays built in. So depending on your customer your environment, I know it's big in healthcare and retail, right? They want to know where things are. They want to know how long people are dwelling in front of a certain product stand in a retail store. All of our APs have the BLE built in. So you could do passive BLE, meaning we're just going to see what's walking around and where. We have a fully developed SDK, mobile SDK kit. So some customers are actually creating their own apps, loyalty apps, etc. And then when their customers are in the store, they're able to do things such as pop up, 10% off if they walk past the coffee shop in the mall or something like that. But all of this is built into the access points. There's no need to deploy additional sensors. There's no need for the little battery Walmart BLE things. Everything is in the actual access point itself. And I think, just my personal opinion is I think location and BLE is going to become more and more and more relevant in our daily lives as we go in the next 12, 16, 18 months. But you could do things such as tracking. One of the big use cases Juniper Corporate uses this now is you have the ability to create hotspots, right? Where if I was to say, for example, in this room here, if there's more than 5 clients in there at one time, it's a hotspot, raise an alert, and then, campus security can go and tell them that they're violating social distancing and they have to leave, right? So we do that in our Sunnyvale and in our offices over across seas as well. I hope we don't have to deal with that forever, but that is what it is. The other part, right, there are analytics. So there's fully built-in analytics. I don't want to spend a ton of time on here. If this is something that is of further interest to you, right, reach out to Nate and his team. They have resources. We have myself. We could literally spend an hour in here more just talking about the different features and things like that. So the other thing I'll just throw in there, Nate, you're aware of this, right? So for anyone on the webinar who would like to try this, right? Nate has access to access points and switches, right, that you could do a proof of concept with. We have, there's a way within this MIST portal where I can create 90-day licenses. So you'll have full functionality for 90 days. And, honestly, I always say, try it. Put an AP in one of your offices and let your users connect to it and see what it can do.
Yep. And there's no cost to that, no obligation. Just get a chance to play with the stuff, see it in your environment, and see if it works for you. All right, cool. Well, we're going to throw the post webinar survey up here. Again, filling this out, we'll give you in the drawing for that $300 Amazon gift card. And then we will be making a recording of this available, and we'll send it out to all the participants so you can share it. And, we'll be in touch in regarding, that proof of concept. If you guys would like to do it, we'll work with Justin and the team to help make that a reality. With that, again, thanks for joining us for Vista Talks Tech. Look forward to seeing you guys in the future, and have a great day.